Okay, welcome everybody to another edition of PEWTER.halfpints. My name is Jason. This is my older brother Dave.
Howdy.
We run our family-owned and operated design build firm. Pewter. We specialize in renovation, specifically of the home. And in this podcast, we want to give you, the listeners at home, something to learn about, whether it comes from picking a contractor, picking materials.
So in this one, we're going to break down tiles. We'll do like the general groupings of tiles. I don't think we're going to talk about glass and all the, weird stuff.
No, we'll get into tile flooring.
So we'll keep it like porcelain, ceramic, and natural.
And natural stone. Yeah, so natural, so we'll get in that. So anyway, so ceramic and porcelain, they're kind of the same, but different. In the words of Jimmy Franco, different, but still same. So what are the differences between ceramic and porcelain?
Can we start with similarities? Let's start with similarities because they are pretty much, they are made essentially the same way. It's the same basic process where they take a clay, they bake the clay, and then they'll bake a glazing on top of it, which is just like the top finished layer, which they call glazing. That'll get baked on as well.
Not to be confused with window glazing. That's different.
Yes, and that's a whole other podcast. One that may not even be appropriate for this podcast, given its residential nature. But anyway, same sort of thing, right? So I would say that the one thing, that's the similarity, is it's the same sort of process. But the differences are the fact that a ceramic tile is made of just like a very basic and weak clay. Mm-hmm. Like back in the day, in olden times, they literally would take the clay at the bottom of a riverbed and, smush it up, mold it, and then fire bake it. And then, that would become your tile. And so if you look at a ceramic tile, it's often got that reddish color to it.
Yeah, it looks like it's made out of clay.
Yeah, it's literally like, if you're familiar with Oakville, you'd dig in a backyard in Oakville, you're hitting red clay. It's the same sort of stuff. With a porcelain tile, they're using stronger composite materials, right? They call it feldspar, which is just like a crystallized formation. It can be igneous or metamorphic rock. Essentially, they just grind down whatever rock into a powder, add the water mixture, and bake it again. The thing with a porcelain is it's generally a little more, the color is more continuous through it. It still has a baked on layer on the top of it that will differentiate from the actual body of it. But rather than a ceramic tile where they're all pretty much clay red, they're a little more consistent. The materials that they're using are certainly of higher structural integrity and quality. So it's definitely a stronger and denser tile and material. So as far as installation is concerned,
pretty much
for the two of them, it's a hell of a lot easier to cut and work with a ceramic tile, whereas a porcelain tile is much stronger. If you watched our video on countertops, the stronger a material is, the more prone it is to cracking. Same thing goes with a porcelain tile. The stronger they are, the more likely they are to snap and run while you're trying to cut them. So it does take more skill to cut a porcelain tile versus a ceramic.
But at the end of the day, that's your tile installer's problem, not you, the end user.
Well, if you're trying to do it DIY,
fair enough.
You'd probably be better off starting with a ceramic.
I guess the cool thing about porcelain, which why I like porcelain has come so far, right? In the sense of how, its looks and its beauty. A ceramic tile kind of very one-dimensional.
You can tell they're cheap. Yeah, it's just generally a cheaper product. They're like 60-70% cheaper.
You can get a piece of porcelain that, if you didn't know any better, you would think was marble, for sure. And it's beautiful. It's stronger than marble, which is great.
There are different grades of porcelain as well. That being said, there are some that are so nice to work with, like Porcelanosa, which is sitting in our showroom. It's a much softer composition, beautiful to work with.
Yeah.
And beautiful finishes, but definitely a softer porcelain. There are tiles, like porcelain tiles, that are extremely strong compositions. Mm-hmm. Very hard to cut. They snap on you. Just a pain to get through with the grinder. So there is a lot of variation between the whole grouping of porcelain on its own. Mm-hmm. But the good thing about both a porcelain and a ceramic is you can use a score. You can use a tile break. Yeah. So you can score and snap them, which speeds up the installation time significantly. Whereas moving on to a natural tile, your granite, your
marble,
marbles,
travertine.
I'm sure you can get a quartzite or whatever it is. They are much more brittle, and you cannot score and snap them. You have to use a wet saw or a grinder. You have to use a saw to physically cut the material.
Which is loud and dusty and dirty.
And much slower.
Yeah.
And your natural tiles all need to be sealed prior to cutting and installed so that the grout does not seep into them. They're sealed ahead of time. And then after everything has been installed, you should really seal it again. Why? Because naturally they're going to be more porous than a man-made product. If we were to talk water retention, I would probably say your porcelain is the most resilient to water retention. So fantastic for showers, bathrooms. They're very dense. They're very strong. If you wanted to, you could use them outside. But fantastic for your hallway floors, anything that's going to be high traffic, get a lot of use, wear and tear. It'll hold up the best. And then I'd probably say like a granite tile, which certainly is not as common, but it exists. And then I would probably go down to ceramic tile, which still does absorb quite a bit of moisture, but the top resists it. But grout allows moisture to seep into it, and naturally it'll absorb into the tile body itself. So wouldn't recommend it for showers and stuff like that. I would just stay away from it. Fine for backsplashes, anything that's light use. And then you go down to your travertine and your marble, which are obviously, the most porous. Yeah. Just keep them for dry floors or accent walls or whatever, and you're in good shape.
I really like travertine. If you're into that whole Mediterranean look, travertine's definitely the way to go. Marble's beautiful, always. I always love the look of marble. I think it's great.
But you have to maintain them.
Yeah.
Right, the natural stones need maintenance. The ceramic doesn't need any maintenance whatsoever, and the porcelain's pretty much bulletproof. So
yeah, I mean, we've accidentally dropped hammers from waist height on a porcelain floor, and absolutely nothing has happened to it. But you do that to a marble floor,
can't say the same.
Yeah,
mind you, that's also tile installation.
True,
but anyway,
we'll get into that another time. So this one is short and sweet. It's pretty straightforward. Just gives you the different types of compositions of each floor, or tile floor, I should say. So
hope that helps.
Yeah, hope it helps in your choosing going forward. So guys, thanks for listening. Pretty much wraps it up for today. I'm Jason. This is David. We are PEWTER.build across all platforms, including our website, www.pewter.build, Instagram, pewter.build. And our podcast is on all platforms except for Half Pints. Half Pints is only on YouTube.
Don't forget to like and subscribe if you can.
And leave a comment.
Cheers, guys.